Big welcome to this week's edition of The Whistleblower, Erkin Shagaev, Part 2. My name is Ian Trent, and joining me is our outstanding panel of water polo personalities. First up, the former FINA referee and well-known coach around Bondi and elsewhere. Good evening, Phil Bauer.
Good evening, Ian. Looking forward to hearing more about Erkin's life.
It's been fascinating. Now, no longer a rookie panellist, the former Australian representative, gold medalist at the Olympics, World Championships, and a couple of World Cups, top coach as well. Throw in an MBE or an OBE or whatever medallion you've got, Deb. And here she is. Good evening, Deb Watson.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to be back. Thank you for having me.
What is it, an OBE or an MBE or what?
OAM or something.
Oh, I know. Right, okay. The next one's a BE, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you'll get there. All right, also from last week's panel, the ex-Australian junior team player and a member of one of the great Balmain families. Welcome, Nick Falzon.
Thanks, Vinny. Terrific to be here, mate.
You are. The Falzons are a great Balmain family. They really are. And
very, very proud to be so. Very proud to be so.
Any more to come, or there are some little ones around Dawn Fraser?
Yeah, my daughters enjoy watching water polo. Haven't had the interest to play, and James's kids a little bit young yet, but Remy and the twins, with any luck at all, they'll take to it, because it'd be lovely to have another generation of Falzons swimming around Dawn Fraser baths.
Yeah, it certainly would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as usual, also joining us is Australia's most credentialed referee, and we love Melburnians now because they've behaved themselves and they are virus-free. Good evening, Danny Flav.
Good evening, Minnie. It's great to be here. It's great to be a ladder out of our 25K circle now. We can sort of go out and visit people. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. Now, they are there in front of you, our social media notes. This is how we get to communicate with everybody. But tonight in particular, your Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, give it a press if you've got any questions for Erkin in particular, because the show is dedicated to him tonight. So if you'd like to ask any questions, that's the way to do it, the Q&A box. And you can see our Facebook page, our Instagram, our whistleblower, our email, our this, our that. And it's all happening. We're right into the 21st century here. Now to our very special guest, the former Australian and Russian men's team coach and Olympic gold medalist. Welcome once again to Erkin Shagaev.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. Absolute
pleasure. Now, last week, Erkin, we looked at your early background in Uzbekistan. Looks like a beautiful country, courtesy of Joanna Lumley. Fantastic. The Silk Road. How you rose in the sport to eventually reach the Soviet national team at a very early age, and also winning a gold medal. Fantastic at the Moscow Olympics. And we spoke about the boycott of those Olympics, but it was still a super strong tournament. And we now move on, and Nick Falzon now will fossick into your memory bank for a starter, and he will seek some more information. Nick, can you take us away?
Yeah, love to. So last week, Erkin, if I recall, we left off, you'd won, if I remember, World Cup in 1983, the defending Olympic champions, other than a loss from memory to the Germans in 81, you'd won almost every major tournament you'd competed in. We're now possibly within the 12 months or even closer to Los Angeles Olympics. However, still, this is against the backdrop of the Cold War. Now, there is still significant world tensions and significant tensions between the Eastern Bloc and the West, particularly the USA. Now, we know how this story, from our perspective, how this pans out. But can you talk to us a little bit about that period of time, leading up to the '84 Olympics, how you found out, or when you found out that you weren't going to be going, and so maybe too, if you don't mind talking to us about some of your emotions, some of your reflections on that. Maybe if you have an opinion on when you hear other athletes talking or governments talking about boycotting Olympics or other such political actions around sport. Sorry, mate. There's probably about 3 or 4 questions in there, but do you mind talk us through that period? Maybe some of your insights into it.
Yes, of course. There is nothing wrong in saying that we were dominating the world stage at that time, and we all, and myself, we were looking to the 1984 Olympic Games to go and try to win. For me, it would have been a second Olympic gold. And that's what we would be aiming at, nothing less than that. And but in May 1984, I received a telephone call saying that we are not going. Well, obviously, my heart sank, and it was devastating news. What happened was, well, let's talk about the Olympic movement. You know, it was an eye for an eye decision by the Soviet government, by the Soviet Communist Party, to what the Americans did in 1980. And in the end, you know, the only people who suffered are the athletes and the quality of an Olympic game. Now, we didn't go there, Hungary didn't go there, Cuba didn't go there, just to name 3 strong teams, and 2 of them were top 2 teams. Now, I'm not saying that the tournament in LA wasn't a good quality tournament, and we did not go there, and the results are there. Yugoslavia won gold, and that's it. It's the same like when the Americans didn't come to Moscow. But at least I won a gold medal. We had players in our team who worked very hard, but never got to take part in the Olympic Games and missed out on a possible medal, gold medal for that matter. When I say that we had a good chance, 1 month prior to the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, there was a major international regular tournament in Hungary where all major 8 teams took part, top 8 teams. And we played all of them, and the score difference would have been 3-4, not less than that. So that tells you about our chances. But there is no, in history, there is no subjunctive move. You know, you didn't go there, you didn't go there. So it was really devastating, and to this day it hurts. To this day it hurts. That's how it was. And we have Jimmy Carter to thank for this American president that was in 1980. You know, speaking about when it was announced in the Soviet Union, in the local media, that was a government-controlled media, you know, lots of statements appeared on behalf of the athletes, approving that, oh, it's good, you know, we support, and it serves them well. I mean, who served well, the Americans, or the, you know, it was, and that's what happened. However, you know, in Australia, you remember last time that we discussed, I said that the Australian team attended the Moscow Olympic Games. And, yes, you know, when the Americans announced boycott, Australia followed the government of Malcolm Fraser at the time.
Yes.
However, the Australian Olympic national team took part in Moscow. That's a free country, you know, that's democracy.
Yeah.
However, I recently read a eulogy or obituary for Malcolm Fraser. And he was the one who created Australian Institute of Sport. Under him it was created after the 1976 Olympic Games disaster. However, in this obituary it says that even though the Fraser government was boycotting it, it did not prevent Australian athletes from going to Moscow. Well, I made inquiries. It's not exactly true. Overtly, it was like this, but covertly, I'll give you an example. That his sports minister was Fred Cheney, a person by the name Fred Cheney. I was told that he was a former actor. And he happened to go to school together with Tom Holt. He apparently went to Tom Holt and said, well, you know, and Tom was head coach of the Australian team. He said, we would give you money, but don't go there. Well, Tom said to him, you know, when we needed the money, you didn't give it to us when we wanted to go. Now we want to go, and You don't want us to go and you give us money. Don't ever come to me with this question, go away, we are going. And this shows you, the strength, the level of independence and decision-making that existed at the time in Australian water polo. Now, there's another example of how they funded this trip. John Whitehouse and Peter Montgomery went to Workers' Union in Sussex Street office and, asked for money. And I understand some of it was provided. Now, it's a good example and good lesson of an independent association, and Olympic movement, in ancient Greece, when the Olympiads were held, all wars stopped. And that was the whole idea. And Pierre de Coubertin, the founder of the modern Olympic Games, he had these things in mind, the ideals of Olympism. That it's not politics, it's about competition in the sporting field. And unfortunately, it all was violated, beginning with Jimmy Carter. Now, these days and recently, we all heard on the news how some Australian athletes were saying, oh, let's punish China, let's not go to the Winter Olympic Games to be held in China. And in my opinion, well, they've got their right to say this, it's their opinion, it's a free country, we all can say it. But I think it's wrong. What might happen, what will happen is that if you do that, and Brisbane then wins the right to host Olympic Games, well, China will retaliate, they will not come. So who will win from this? What will be achieved? So sport and politics should not be mixed. That's my answer.
It's a good answer. I like that, Erkin. You have a unique perspective on that. On that too. So I really appreciate your honest candor there. Yeah, very interesting times, and I do hope we can keep. Personally, I hope that we can keep sport and politics as separate as possible as we move forward. Yes.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, Erkin, as you brought up that sport and politics don't mix, but unfortunately, with the politics and the sport needs the money, and is a hard way around it. Do you think there will ever be a way around it where the government will be able to get money not from the government, or do we always have to go with the politician what the government wanted to do to get the money?
Well, you see, we can talk about it, but Australia is a very wealthy nation. It's a first world nation. And there are commercial sports like with huge TV audience, and therefore huge sponsorships, possibilities, opportunities. But there are sports like boutique sport like water polo, and it's the oldest team sport, Olympic sport. Cricket is not an Olympic sport. Netball is not an Olympic sport. Some rugby fields are not Olympic sport, but water polo is an Olympic sport. It's a global game for that matter. So, we're a small sport. And if Australia wants to be on the world stage competing and, have pride, I think there has to be government support, unless and when there are some other sources of funding. Right? Maybe there are wealthy individuals who love the sport, and it happens on a small scale. Some clubs exist because of this, and which is good. But I guess that's my answer.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, Erkin, what you said that the team was devastated with the boycott announcement.
Yeah.
What did you do? I mean, did you keep training, or did you? Did the boys, get together, and what was their reaction and their emotions with it, apart from devastation?
Yeah.
Did they try to change the decision in any way, or what?
Well, we couldn't.
No.
We could not, because when Australia, after defying the government, came back, the Australian members of the team, well, they did not end up in Siberia or even in Kalgoorlie, going to the iron ore mines, or were sent to iron mines as a punishment. Or did not stand in front of the firing squad, So, in the Soviet Union, as I said, on behalf of all of us, there were statements made how we support this decision. So we could not do anything. Well, the telephone call came in May, but in June we went to Hungary for this major tournament. And during the time of the Olympic tournament in Los Angeles, we had an alternative tournament in Cuba, not far from America, where countries of the Eastern Bloc had their own tournament. It was called Friendship. As I said, it was Cuba, the host nation, Hungary, Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, and some other nations. We won it in the final against Hungary, but little consolation. And after that, I decided to finish to play. I mean, not necessarily only because of this reason. I felt tired. I felt like a squash lemon after 8 years non-stop hard work, physical work. But some of my players, in fact, many of them went on to play. Maybe if I had, I don't know, 6 months to 12 months rest, I would have gone till at least Seoul Olympic Games in 1988. But I decided not to go.
So Erkin, in 1985, the USSR came to Australia. What were your impressions when you first landed, and what did you think of our system and how we were playing?
Yes, even though I finished to play in '84, I was invited to go on this tour with the Soviet team as appreciation of my service to the country, to the national team. So I came with my team to Australia. This tour was initiated and organized by Peter Montgomery. He did a lot of work together with Association John Whitehouse. And it happened, if I'm not mistaken, in February 1985. It was, I think, about 10 days or 2 weeks. We had a series of exhibition matches with the Australian team in Canberra and in Sydney, but along the way we also were able to go and on excursions to see some sites. We visited houses. We had some joint events with the boys from the Australian team. There was even a competition on drinking beer, from a jar. I didn't know it existed before. And the best beer drinker from our team versus the best beer drinker from Australia. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me, I think it was Alan Taylor.
Oh.
Maybe
Andy Taylor. Sorry,
Andy Taylor.
And,
he's still drinking for Australia.
Ours was Mikhail Ivanov. And never ever before I could see it, Andy beat him by far, he was talking. Andy just switched his lip, and in one gulp it's gone, 2 liters or 3 liters, I don't know. And we were impressed, it was good. And that was a type of the friendship we had with the Australians, and that was fantastic. Obviously, I fell in love with Australia as everyone, look, what can beat Sydney Harbour? Nothing. And for example, and at the time we were talking to each other and thinking, you wouldn't say you want to defect, but what a wonderful thing would have been, just to be able to visit, to travel, maybe to stay here for a while, for a short while, to be able to show it to your family, your loved ones and friends. But at the time, it would not have been possible. Gorbachev just came to power. That's when perestroika started, and but it was far from clear where we will go with this. And that's my impression of. And the people were friendly, and by the way, Australian team was always very friendly, smiling, that's how it was.
So, Erkin, did you ever think back in '85 when you come to Australia, what could have happened if you didn't come? Have you ever thought back like that at all? And what might not have happened to where you are now?
You mean if I didn't come to Australia in '85? Well, I wouldn't have seen the country, and probably I would never have thought of later on coming to Australia.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Would your life be how much different if you hadn't have come on that particular trip?
Say it again, sorry. What
So the sliding doors, you came to Australia and you saw our country and opportunity. So what would your life have looked like now, do you think, if you hadn't have come on that trip?
Yeah, you see, if anyone in '85, even in '85, let alone earlier, said to me, look, there wouldn't be USSR, Soviet Union will cease to exist. You will be in Australia coaching, you know, talking to David Watson and living here, being a coach, national team. I would have laughed, you know, who would have thought? And that was a tremendous change that occurred to the Soviet Union and to the world with its demise.
So, Erkin,
I probably would have lived in Uzbekistan. Maybe.
Yeah. So, Erkin, when you went back home after Australia, and you loved Australia, as you said, in Sydney Harbour, what did you actually do when you got back home for those years before you come back again?
Yes, well, during my playing career, I graduated from a university course in physical education. Then I was conscripted into the Soviet army, but because I was the highest level sportsman playing for the national team, my period of service was like, you know, counted, but I was allowed to continue training and perform for the national team. Anyway, as I said, by '84, I decided after we didn't go to LA Olympic Games, and maybe even if we went, I still would have made this decision to concentrate on other things, you know, on my career and another further education. And what happened? I went to work in a Central Committee of Youth Communist League of Uzbekistan, which was like a branch, a part of the Communist Party of Soviet Union. I was invited, and I went there. I was working and became deputy chief, and later on chief of a department responsible for, you know, sport, military service preparation of youngsters in my republic. And it was a very good school of political work. It allowed me to travel a lot throughout the Republic, Uzbekistan, and just see the cities and the places where I've never been before. And that happened between '84 and end of '84, and until I left for Australia. I also did 3-year course as a party cadre, and that course covered political economy, Marxist-Leninist philosophy, sociology. Well, I mean, in hindsight, if in addition to this I could go and study in London School of Business, that would be nice too, but it was not possible at the time. I also did a 2-year course, special course of United Nations sponsored English language course. I also did, because I took a particular interest, I think an equivalent of somewhere between maybe a master's degree and a PhD in sports science, which my thesis was about speed endurance in water polo. So, you know, it took, again, 2-3 years, and, you know, I was able to then defend the thesis and, you know, got that degree or diploma. And that's what I did. And I also was coaching water polo in my free time. I worked with the local junior team, and you know, derived great enjoyment from this, and also was using my experience and expertise in this field. And that's what happened between 86 and 85 and 84 and 1991.
Erkin, in 1991, you moved to Australia with your wife and your 2 young children. Who initiated the move for you to come here? And what roles did you undertake between 91 and 96?
Yes, when we competed on the international stage, as I've already mentioned, you know, I've made a lot of friends. Among them were Australians. You know, the Australians always were very friendly, you know, smiley, easy to talk with. And, you know, I made friends in particular with Peter Montgomery, John Whitehouse, and others, you know, and our friendship particularly strengthened when he elbowed me and burst my eardrum. And, that happened between the teams of Uzbekistan and Australia at the 1979 Spartakiad, 1 year prior to the Moscow Olympic Games, where we played each other because foreign teams came like Australia, Spain, Yugoslavia, among others. And we drew on that day, 6-4. Anyway, when I asked Peter, what was that for? You know, he said that I kicked him in the head. That's why. You know, but I don't remember ever doing this anything like that. How can you do it to another human being? You know, you can't do that. And anyway, when Gorbachev came to power, somewhere I think in 1988, I wrote to Peter and then telephoned him asking, you know, if I came to Australia, would that be possible, you know, for whatever period, maybe shorter, maybe longer period? And he was very, very accommodating. He was very happy, you know, to help, and he did, and it was a big deal. So at some stage, he flew into Sochi as a member of the International Olympic Committee's commission to check the preparation for the Olympic Games in Sochi. That was held later on, I think. And I flew to Sochi. We met there, we had a conversation, and later on, Peter wrote a letter to the president of Uzbekistan asking for permission to allow me to travel, because even though the country started to open up, it still was not that easy. It still was not open up enough for me just pack up my bags and travel. He as well, he organized, you know, visa, and I arrived in June 1991 with my young family. It was not specifically arranged or discussed that I would be, you know, placed into a water polo sort of environment, but it was pretty logical that with my background, experience, and expertise in water polo, I could help, I guess. And therefore, upon arrival, I stayed several days in Sydney, and then with Peter, and then I was taken with my family to the IS, where the immense Central Eye program was, and I was, you know, there as a consultant assistant to the program. These are the circumstances. And by the way, it was Peter, it was also John Whitehouse, who, as Secretary General of the Australian Water Polo Association, did a lot of, you know, some technical work, you know, documents and everything. That's the story.
Yeah. Phil, you're on mute.
Sorry, you arrived in Australia in 91. Did you actually go and coach any teams? Were you involved with the senior team or with Australian junior teams or anything in New South Wales?
Yeah, my first assignment was to go with the junior under-20 Australian team to America, to Los Angeles in August 1991 to assist Julian Muspratt, who was head coach, and by the way, the manager was Noel Harrod then, at the campaign in Los Angeles Olympic Games. That was my first assignment.
So a disorganised trip with Noel as manager, no doubt?
Yeah, Noel was the manager. Noel was the manager at these World Championships.
Yeah. Small miracle that you got back in one piece, Erkin, and you're still with us. I didn't realise we almost lost you so soon.
Yeah. Yes, and after that, I continued on helping, consulting, assisting the Australian national team in their preparation towards the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona. And well, that included everything, you know, like program planning issues, analysis of Australian performance, Australian team's performance, analysis of possible opposition, individual sessions, preparation, you know, planning, running the sessions, you know, doing drills, explaining why and what they were for, tactical schemes, you know, all sorts of things, and similar involvement and participation of mine was in Barcelona during the Olympic Games, and if I was able to help, because I was so grateful to Australians and wanted to help wholeheartedly, and I hope I was able to do it.
Erkin, how did you find the Australian, because we are pretty laid back in everything we do. So you coming from a regimented place to Australia where we don't, I have to say, we don't train as hard. We train hard, but we take it a little bit easy there. You know, we're a bit lax here and there. Did you find that hard to understand how we don't train as hard as you guys did?
No, well, I must say that it's not necessarily the view that I had. I can say that what I saw was a very good group of young men, and most of the time, all the time, it was like, that's my perception, who were willing and did work very hard. And, you know, you can describe that they're laid back, but it's just easygoing, you know, very friendly attitude.
Yeah.
Well, unlike us, you know, Russians, we sometimes we go with gloomy faces, but, you know, it's like we're ugly from on the outside, but very hard inside.
Maybe as a follow-on, sorry, just very quickly for me, maybe as a follow-on to Danny's question, Erkin, although the attitude of the players you've said was very, very good, you certainly didn't have the depth of talent to work with that you might have been if it was a Russian side in that golden era. So was there some form of consciousness or but being aware that maybe you obviously didn't have as many players at your disposal, so you had to work a little bit with what you had?
Yeah, certainly, you know, when there is competition and serious competition, it helps, you know, because what we talk about quality. You know, there was one memorable moment when in 2001, I think, or maybe two, I don't remember, we went to Manchester for a university. Did you go there, Nick?
Yeah, not in 2002 Manchester, I think, was Commonwealth Championships.
Commonwealth
We didn't play at the
Championships,
Commonwealth Games. Yeah, we played Canada and England.
Did you go there?
Yeah. Yes, I played in that
well,
tournament.
we went there, and you may recall that we visited Manchester United and spoke to Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, I remember it very well. Yeah, very well.
And I asked him a question, you know, what sort of intensity, because we were looking at how they train. And to us, it looked pretty much, you know, too easy, you know, because and I asked him, you know, he says, well, it's quality, which I knew anyway, but he just reiterated, we talk about quality. And with the hundreds of millions of dollars of budget, you know, he can afford to buy quality. And when there is quality, then there is natural intensity. Whereas, you know, at the time in particular, the situation is healthy and better right now in Australia, in water polo, men's water polo, women's water polo, as far as I'm concerned right now. But at the time, certainly better competition and more quality, you know, vying to make a national team would have been helpful.
Erkin, in 1996, Australia fails to qualify for the Atlanta Games. Do you have an opinion on why? And just following on, you were then appointed the men's national coach, and you held that position until 1998 when you were removed. Do you want to talk to us through that?
Yes. Well, in 1990, so after the 1992 Olympic Games when I was not asked to be coming to the IS to be helping with whatever matters that would have been necessary, and that's how it was. And I can't tell you really what went on. The fact is that Australia did not qualify for the Olympic Games in Atlanta, and unlike nowadays when there is a regional qualification procedure whereby Australia has to compete with New Zealand to make it the Olympic Games from the Oceania region. Then the team had to go through a general qualification tournament. And that tournament was held in Berlin in February 1976, where the team, I think, lost and drew with Ukraine and Romania. And those were crucial matches where, a better result, at least in one of them, could have delivered participation in the Olympic Games. Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, I can't give you a full analysis of the team performance there. But after that, I was invited to become the head coach of the Australian team. I did not apply. There was a meeting, in the aftermath of the team's participation in Atlanta. I took part in that meeting. I prepared some notes, as to what needs to be done, what can be improved in Australian water polo, what aspects of it. And then halfway through the meeting, I left and went. In fact, I flew to Tashkent the next day because my grandmother died. So I went there and, I did not really think about becoming coach of the senior team. I was the coach of the junior team, and then I was invited and to become national coach of the Australian team. That's what happened.
So going forward, preparation for in '97 and then World Championships in '98. Would you like to tell us about what happened?
Yeah.
And then if you could keep going till how and why you were dismissed from the position.
Yeah. Anyway, I was given 18 months until 1998 World Championships. It was not a 4-year tenure that was given to me. It was 18 months, and the message was that unless a good result is delivered, then most likely I wouldn't continue with the job. And, the thought that it was a bit harsh condition certainly crossed my mind, but it was great honor to become head coach of the Australian men's team, which I happily agreed upon. And now those who went to Perth to watch the World Championships, Phil, you were there, I believe, and maybe Ian, and Debbie definitely was there as a member of the women's team. You can agree with me that the team demonstrated very good quality of water polo. It was a strong team, it was fast, it was skillful, it was disciplined, tough team. It was a force to be reckoned with by any other participant of the World Championships, including the top teams. And it all happened.
Erkin, you asked if we saw, yes, as a young player that aspired to be in that team. I can tell you the performance against Greece was inspirational.
Yeah,
as a young player watching it, and we all talked about it. We wanted to be able to play like that. It was beautiful. There were some wonderful Australian teams that had played some wonderful games, but I'd never seen anything like that from an Australian men's team. It was fantastic.
Thank you. But I think the game against the United States was also a very good game. And
I didn't say it wasn't.
There were other games, but against other strong teams, and I'll touch upon that. But USA and Greece, 9 months prior to the World Championships, a World Cup was held in Greece in May 1997. USA won it, and Greece came as a runner-up, second place, silver medal. And other top teams were there, like you know, we can check, but it was Russia, it was probably, you know, Italy, it was probably Hungary and Yugoslavian teams. Can be checked, you know, but surely they were top teams. And why I say that the US and Greece were more than a serious opponents, and they were in our, like, US was in our group, in our preliminary group, and we played them and we managed to beat them. And,
I think that's also working. One of the things that stood out about that, in Australia's played some wonderful games over the years. Many times after playing a wonderful match, we haven't been able to back it up with another excellent performance quickly. Whereas that team was able, as you said, to play extremely well against the USA, and in a crucial game shortly after, again, played at a phenomenally high level against Greece. But just to touch on, so you've played this wonderful tournament, almost at the level of the best teams in the world, and then you were let go as coach of the national team.
The Greece team was for the top four. We were 3-1 down. We beat them 5-3. Yeah. And the goals were brilliant goals. You know. Anyway, it all was possible due to very, very hard work that the boys did during the 18 months period. It's blood and sweat. Yeah.
A lot of the players that played then said that it was the fittest that they've ever been. So that must be a bit of credit to you for and the way you went about training the guys.
Yeah, well, I think we managed to, you know, it's a very like fine tuning and it's a science, you know. It's you've got to hit the nail on the top right and come in top shape right at the right moment. And well, that was, you know, the program was offered, and you know, the boys implemented it. However, after the World Championships, a group of the players wanted me removed. Now, my analysis, and since then, lots of water went under the bridge. With most of these players, we had conversations. Some of them wrote to me afterwards, without me prompting it. And, you know, like saying, you know, that some things they regretted of what happened, or something, you know. And we, as I said, I've discussed with most of them all these issues and talked about it, and we, you know, it's just it's in the deep past now. However, I think the main reason for this, the bottom line is nobody died, you know, but I was very happy for the boys, and I think they were proud, and Australia was proud, and what matters really is this outcome, this result.
Erkin, can I just jump in? Were there things, looking back, that you would have changed? Things that you did with that team?
Well, I wouldn't, most of it I wouldn't change, but then, you know, we all analyze, we always, things can be done better. What I will say, I'll just give me 1 more minute, I'll explain. It was my way of doing, you know, it's intensive, I call intensive way of coaching, you know, and some people may use the term of challenging way of, you know, because what happened was we went in '76 in May, from my perspective anyway. We went on a tour in July, July 1996, and after that I could see there are plenty of shortcomings, you know, and we had to improve them. We had to improve them quickly, and you know, I saw the need that we needed to learn how to fight for every, not even inch or centimeter, every millimeter in space, and not a second or a split of a second in time. And also, as far as I could see, you know, the boys were pretty fragile. You know, it was a pretty psychological blow not to qualify for the 1996 Olympic Games. And I could also see, you know, that in some cases the frustration could overcome, and all of a sudden we blow up, you know, and we stop playing. In some other cases, you know, lack of confidence on the contrary. But what we had to learn, they knock you down, you know, you pick up yourself up, dust yourself, comb, you know, and go on again. They knock you down again and you do it again. And little by little, I believe, you know, we did this. Well, that's my perspective. But to conclude the whole thing, and you know, the main thing is that if the outcomes that were brought about by this change is what was desired, well, that's okay. That's okay. What mattered to me is the quality of performance, and you know, that the boys achieved a good result. Obviously, we lost in the semi-final to Hungary. We lost the bronze medal game to combined team of Serbia and Montenegro, but that could have been the next step, you know, to climb further. The team was not ready, really, you know, at that stage. Not yet to become, you know, to compete with those sides. However, Spain became world champions ultimately by beating Hungary in the final. And in our game against Spain, we lost by 1 goal, 5-4. And you know, so we were able to produce good quality water polo. That's what is important for me.
So Erkin, mate, we've all been sacked. Don't worry about that. As long as you're happy with what you did and how you did it, and getting the best ever placing of an Australian men's team, it's pretty good. What did you do after that?
After that, you know, the board appointed me national junior coach again. When I say again, I did, as I mentioned before, I was a consultant to the head coach of in 91 of the junior team. But then I was appointed and did virtually 4 cycles of the junior water polo national under-20 team. In 93 in Cairo, 95 in Dunkirk, France, 97 in Cuba, and 99 in Kuwait. Now, the progression was that in 93, we repeated the best ever result by coming 8th in Egypt. In Dunkirk, for the first time, the Australian team made it to semi-final. We came 4th. In 97, for the second time, we came 4th in Cuba, where we had a good chance of getting a bronze medal there. And it's another story. I mean, I won't take the time to describe it. It was a tough tournament, and by the way, to make top 8, we had to beat a strong Russian side. To make top 4, we had to beat Yugoslavia. And you know, along the way in semi-final, we played Croatia, eventual world champion. We lost 4-2 to them, and then in the bronze medal game, lost by 1 goal to Greece. And in 1999, for the first time ever, we were on the podium and won silver medal for Australia. And you know, all these tournaments were memorable. And again, if you ask me how we did it, nothing changed, and I did exactly the same way as I did with all the other teams, and with the senior team in 96, 98. You know, my approaches and the way I coached it. So,
Erkin, all those years progressing going through, Australia were always this close. Why do you think we couldn't get over the line? Like, we couldn't get past we couldn't get into the semi-final. We always lose by a goal. We always found a way somehow of not getting over the line. How is that?
Well, I think my opinion, if the Americans did it in, I think in London, if I'm not mistaken, they got silver after many, many years, because their first medal was in Munich, bronze medal, in 1972. And in LA, they got silver. In Seoul, they got silver too, in 88. But the next silver was in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, I think, 2008. And What I'm saying is that if they were able to do that team, and I know that team very well, then Australia could have done a similar feat either in 2008 or 2012. Now, my second tenure, and Phil, can I say about this? Or
yeah, let me ask you a question first. So, you're sacked in '98. You take the junior team in '99 to win a silver medal, the best result men's junior team has ever had. Then Sydney 2000, at home, we don't have a great result with the men's team. And after that, you're appointed as national coach once again.
Yeah.
What was the Water Polo Australia's reasoning of appointing you 2 years after they'd sacked you? And going on from that, you go to Athens and then you lose your job again. You want to fill us in?
Yes, well, the reasoning, I guess, is it's a bit of a, well, look, I can appreciate that the Australian Water Polo Board were in a sort of awkward, difficult situation in 1998 when they made the decision to get rid of me. And look, there were some difficult conversations between myself and the board, but that's what happened anyway. And I leave it to explain to the participants on the other side for that matter. You know, it was their decision. We all can say if I were there, I would have done it differently, but that's what happened anyway. And it's easy to judge other people than to be in their shoes, maybe. But and in a way, I think the reason why I was reappointed is that there was appreciation, you know, of what happened, you know, in '98 and during the 10 years between 1991 and 2000 with the junior teams. I believe I want to think that. I would like to think. I think that's the reason. And yes, and I was appointed, but you know, the appointment occurred a bit, you know, was a bit late. Not when I say late, too long period between the end of the Olympic Games 2000 and the start of the work for the next time. It was in March or April 2001, and it was way long, and we had only 2 months or 3 months prior to the World Championships in Fukuoka in 2001. Anyway, going back to your question is, yes, my understanding was that, you know, I had a conversation that I asked that, okay, well, last time you gave me 18 months, you know, and that was a bit of a revolution, you know, that I created, and let's do it a bit of an evolutionary way and give me 3 Olympic cycles this time. Okay, well, it's not 3, you get 2. And that was my understanding, but between 2001 and 2004, it was a young team, and it was the second youngest team in Athens at the Athens Olympic Games. The youngest was the Egyptian team. And what happened between 2001 and 2004, look, rebuilding team under difficult circumstances. When I say difficult, in 96, 98, it was a centralized program. And I can elaborate about it a bit later, you know, centralized with all the infrastructure that existed at the time, you know, we were there with all the support there, you know, like people were in one place having rest and eating and studying or working. And it was easy, well, relatively easy, I say. When I say easy, it's not easy. And sports science, sports medicine, strength, conditioning, support, everything, you know, the whole infrastructure, brilliant AI structure was at the time in program. Whereas between 2001 and 2004, it's a decentralized program and a young team. By the way, I will go back in, I must say that in 96, half the team or so retired. And I brought into the squad young Boyd, Sean Boyd, young Gavin Woods, young Peter Soros. And if 18 months prior to the World Championships, I said anyone, these people would make it and would be full on 100% members of the team in 1998, people would laugh at me. But you all remember that they played very well. And 2 historical goals that Sean Boyd, backhand shot goals from center forward position against USA, against Greece, back-breaking goals, and demoralizing goals for the opposition. And that type of work that happened there, and for younger or senior players. Anyway, 2001, 2004, it was hard work, and within a short period of time, we managed to become competitive. I mean, I don't want to be falsely modest, but that's what happened. Again, hard work, no stone left unturned. And in 2003, you will recall that at the World Championships, we had the Americans and the Japanese in our group. Japanese was an easy game. We lost to America with big margin. It was sort of pretty devastating, hard game. And we had to face Croatia to make top 8. And whatever is the reasons, maybe the Croatian team underestimated us, which you never ever do. And that was the top nation, the 2 months prior to the World Championships, they won silver medal at the European Championships. And I'm proud to say that in that crucial match, we beat them with a score 10-6, and at some stage we were 8-3 up. Now that gives you an example of what team was emerging, what team was in the process of building. At the Olympic Games in Athens, I came 9th only, we came 9th only. But for that same matter, America came 7th under Rubic. And it was like a fork, in the tournament system. Yes, we played them, we lost 5-4. Now, I'm an old whinging coach, but I will say to you that in the game against America, I felt that the refereeing was pretty hard on us. I mean, everyone can say that. It's not the reason. I'm not quoting it as an excuse. But we lost 5-4, and we played for 9-10. They played for 7-8. We finished 9th, and the last game was against Croatia. Now, they may have their story, but my story is that. USA came 7th, and but after that, yes, you're right. I was dismissed again, and no coherent explanation was given, as far as I'm concerned, and that's the history.
Erkin, you mentioned what if the men's team does well. How do you think our men's team stands at the present time?
Well, I went myself to Korea to watch the World Championships, as I did to the previous World Championships, as I did to European Championships. I try to attend and watch every game, Australian game and every other single game. I go there. And what I saw is our team is a competitive side. There is a good chance that they may achieve a good result. The examples are the games against Hungary, the game against other strong teams, Montenegro. It's very competitive. It's very close between the nations. So there is a chance. Now, I don't know what the situation is going to be like given these COVID, circumstances, which is very unusual now for everyone. I can't tell you, I don't know for sure who trains properly, who does not train, what government's allowed to do it, what special arrangements are there. I know that Australia trains, whether there will be an opportunity to have regular high-level scrimmages with top sides in the lead up to the Olympic Games tournament or not, I don't know. But it's an open sort of situation. But given what I saw at the last major event, which is in 2019, there is a chance. I can say there is a chance for both teams, women and men. And by the way, most of the players who now currently in the Australian side are the product of the system that existed until recently. And I'm proud to say that even the players who I coach are still there, at the club level or in the national framework system.
So Erkin, given the status where you are now, would you get back involved in coaching? I'm not saying Australia. I'm saying any country. Would you like to get back involved in coaching again?
Yeah, I would. There is an important condition is that apart from personal condition, like a normal situation for anyone, for any professional person, there has to be a proper program, you know, that can be discussed, what and how needs to be done. Because what's the point of having personal conditions if we can't do things, you know? I wouldn't do that.
Mm.
You give me $1 million and can't give me the proper program. Why would I do this? You know, I wouldn't do that. And that's my answer.
So what have you been doing of late, Erkin? If you don't mind me asking, what are you working as now? What are you doing?
Well, I'm working on improving myself, you know, updating myself and enhancing my qualifications and skills and becoming a better person and health-wise and in all other regards, you know, and overall I'm enjoying myself.
Doing a lot of writing.
Trying to contribute to water polo's development in whatever way I can, including you know, expressing my opinion honestly under my name in writing and have a look at you know, what I have to say.
We just had a bit of problem there, mate. Unfortunately, I think your screen froze, but
yeah. So Erkin, after 2004, can you get? I know you went to China and coached women, and after that, you are USSR. Oh, sorry, Russian coach.
Yeah.
Did you apply for that, or did they come to you? How were you appointed to be Russian coach?
Well, there was an invitation. That's how I was appointed, and I worked as a coach, Russian national men's team coach, between January 1, 2014, and virtually, basically, in April 2016. It's 2 years and 2 months, a rather short period of time. Again, look, in a way, if I may say so, I'm a firefighter. You know, I'm invited when things are not good, usually.
Had things changed over there, like the system from when you played?
Well, in my opinion, you know, I initiated a good process of making it healthier. You know, a group of young players are introduced to this good prerequisites, good skills, and they are now among the leading players. You talk about Merkulov, you talk about Kharkov, you talk about Bichkov and other players. Again, it was a difficult period, but I resigned myself in 2016. Why? Because in a way, it was a similar situation to almost any other, you know, my coaching tenure. And I was asking for, you know, like at least suggestions that there should be 2 cycles, Olympic cycles, which was not possible to agree upon. And in the end, I decided that I didn't want to continue. So I resigned in November 2016. That's the story there. I mean, I can talk for all night on this topic and other topics, but we don't have this opportunity.
Erkin, I'll just want to change it up a little bit now. We sort of spoke a little bit before we come online. Do you think the rules have made the game better now to change?
Well, generally, you know, with all the development in terms of rules over the last 3 decades, I'm not sure whether it was the right direction. Mm-hmm. However, we have now what we have.
Yep.
If you refer to the latest the changes,
yes,
I think some of them make sense to make it even more dynamic than what it is. However, the area of the rule that you know you discussed it last time, you know, at the previous show, previous show with my participation. I don't think it was necessarily like a good change of interpretation. Mm-hmm. And I'll explain why. You know, I understand what they're saying, and I had a lengthy conversation with Lola Ibn, you know, Manuel Ibn, who is the chairman of the Technical Water Polo Committee. I had this conversation with him in Korea. where these rules were for the first time applied in an official Magic tournament. And you remember that throughout the tournament, how it went. There were ridiculous situations where a person inside water has the ball, and since it looks and waits until an opponent's arm is placed on his shoulder, and then it's a penalty.
Yeah.
You know, we spoke last time about Temagistris, about Estiarte, about other players, you know, your humble servant. You know, you have to use a tap-on shot, you have to use backhand shot, you have to use round shot, any other shot. And just to go in there and try to score a goal. Otherwise, you won't get a penalty. Because what the defenders are doing, they're trying to, you know, also, you know, you either play clean or you play rough. If you play rough, it's a straightforward penalty. But if you try to play subtle, you know, you can. There may be nothing because if the player did not have enough job to do, if he didn't do enough job, enough work. No, the answer was, look, if the rules were like in water polo, there wouldn't be Messi in the football. You know, Messi, the footballer, or Ronaldo.
Yep. Yes.
Well, they enter the penalty area, and you may not touch them. If you touch them, it's a penalty immediately.
Penalty.
But there is a difference between football and water polo. No matter what, you know. All I'm saying is that, to me, I don't think they should have touched. What needs to be done better, you know, again, better monitoring and better assessment of refereeing.
No.
And I think with the introduction of this video referee assistant, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So these are my comments then. You know, these are my comments. I mean, we can discuss it longer, but I don't think we have the time.
Fair enough.
I hope I was clear.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. Erkin, we're running out of time as usual. Tell me the best player, the greatest of all time. I'm reading about this in every code of football. People, it's a discussion point. They call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Who is the greatest of all time through your eyes in water polo?
Well, it's a bit difficult question. I mean, there were players, greatest players in my team, you know, my teammates. I never mentioned them last time. But what I say that at the Olympic Games, most of the other teams were consisting of stars. There was stars in the team. But we had a star team, you know, team star. Anyway, you showed this photo with Tamas Farago. Well, you can he can be ranked. I would rank him among one of the greatest players ever in water polo. But there were other ones, including in my own team, and that would be my answer.
And can I ask who was the best Aussie?
After all, there are. Say it again.
Sorry, no, I thought you'd finished. I was going to say who was the best Australian that you actually played against?
Or saw?
Oh, have I disappeared?
No, you haven't.
Oh, no, there. So, yeah, who was the best Australian that you actually played against, Erkin? And then who was the best Aussie that you actually coached? 4 words.
Well, I cannot single one in Australia. I would say probably Andrew Kerr and Charlie Turner were among the better ones, the better players.
Yeah.
The one who I coached would be in the earlier days, like I would single out Marsden, Daniel Marsden. It was a combination of his ability to play within the game plan, but at the same time using his improvisation, his creativity, his ability to see opportunities and immediately exploit them, you know, spontaneous actions. Yeah. And they were within the game framework, game plan, you know. That's a good ability. There were other good players, you know, later on. And a number of them who myself, you know, myself developed. And, again, there are different positions: goalkeepers, mobile forwards, center forwards. You know, so you know, a very, very good ability Gene Simmons had. and I had to push him hard. I had to push him hard, you know, and to his credit, eventually he understood me. Because like some players, he may have been upset with me at some stage, but eventually I got the feel that he understood. And there are other players, you know, other players. I think Tim Nisham had great potential, but in my opinion, it was not fully realized in the end because of the way, you know, he was thinking. And currently, you know, we see that Aaron Younger has a good shot, you know, and others.
So, Erkin, did you have a? I know it's hard to say a favourite, but when you were coaching the Australian team, juniors and seniors, did you have one team that you really enjoyed the most, or better than any other team?
Well, then the thing is that you enjoy it most when you achieve, you know, and reach, you know, the stage where, you know, it becomes like you're feeling the fulfillment, you know, that we achieved.
Yep.
So in the end, you know, 1998 team was, you know, when we got to the final stages and we're playing already for the medal, you know, great feeling.
Yep.
Great feeling was in Dunkirk in France with the junior team.
Yes.
Great feeling was in Cuba when we got you know, to the final stage. Fantastic feeling was in Kuwait. A great feeling was with the Magpies, West Magpies.
Yes.
National League team. And the story is that I came to the team. I was invited when it was the last on the bottom, the last at the bottom of the National League ladder, and for a long time, for a number of years. And within 3 years, they won the grand final.
Mm-hmm.
And on the second year, we won a regular title, but came third in the grand final. And the first year of my tenure there, we jumped to the 5th position in, you know, on the ladder. We made the top 6. And, you know, it was fantastic feeling when we won, in particular, when we won the National League title.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, it's a creative process, you know, you are creating music, you know, and you can't put it together, the notes are not right, and like a composer, you know, all of a sudden, beautiful melody comes, you know, and that's, you know, you derive immense pleasure from this.
Yeah.
And the most important thing that athletes, you know, feel that their hard work was not in vain.
Yeah.
And I must say that I'm very pleased, in addition to the water polo achievement, that many my charges, you know, achieved a lot in life. You know, they became successful business people. They became successful professional people. They now have families, children, and I'm very, very happy for them that they have this in their lives, you know, which was very good. And I'm hopeful that I was able, at least in a small way, to contribute to that.
Now, Erkin,
Erkin, I can attest that you did. For many of us, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of the blokes you did.
Now, well, Erkin, we're way over time. I've got the one more question because Phil wants to know your favourite pool or venue in Australia. Got to be quick.
Well, has to be Balmain, of course, but there are other pools like Melville. You know Melville? And Drummond. First and foremost, there are many good pools. Why? You know, when you sit in Melville in the stand, and if you get tired of watching, you know, screaming, jumping people, you know, and all the drama on the field, you have just to raise your horizon, and you know, a beautiful vista opens up, you know, with the river, with the harbour, and nice surrounding and picturesque landscape. You know, the same in Drummond. You know, all you have to do is just look further. And it's a very good sight. Anyway, I'm joking, but many good teams, many good swimming pools, and the ones that I described, they're good.
Now, Erkin, are you still coaching Kings?
I'm consulting Kings, yes.
Well, I hesitate to tell you who your referee is on Saturday, but you better be nice. Better be nice to me. Erkin, I really enjoyed I've enjoyed your part two. It'd be good if we could do that with everybody, Phil, wouldn't it? Well, everybody for
Ian, if I say something, I will say in Russian, okay?
that'll be great. I really look forward to that. We've enjoyed part two of Erkin Shagaev. Erkin, thanks very much for your time, mate. It has been absolutely fascinating. To our panel, Debbie, Nick, Danny, Phil, thank you guys. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time, the 23rd of November. Have we got a guest yet, Phil? You better turn yourself.
Not quite yet. We're working on 2 very important people.
Phil, the Balmain pool, you can't raise your horizon, but you can turn your back to the water polo field and just look on the harbour on the other side, of the field.
Exactly, Cockatoo Island.
That's why this is the best swimming pool in Australia.
And they got an excellent barbecue.
The barbecue is the best part.
The barbecue is excellent at Balmain.
Thanks, guys.
The atmosphere. Okay, guys. Thanks very much, and thanks to all of our listeners. Tell your friends that you can see this on replay on Facebook. Anywhere else? YouTube, Phil?
Yeah, Water Polo Australia YouTube channel, and there's a link. Will go up tomorrow on Water Polo Australia under the banner Whistleblower.
So if you want to know.
Thank you very much for having me, everyone.
Please.
Thank you, Erkin.
That's the place to be. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time on the 23rd of November for the Whistleblower.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.